What up, yo? I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. It is July 2nd, 2025. We are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Locals. As you know, we're trying to crush that 3 mil subscriber on YouTube situation, trying to crack the 750 on the Rumble. About 2,000 of you subscribed yesterday. Punch the button, click it, tap it, your finger. It's okay. You won't get carpal tunnel or anything else. Just one click, move on with your life. If you're curious, if you're of a certain age, I'd say if you're under 40, you probably don't know what that very short cold open was. Can you throw to it one more time? Can we throw to, well, so this is the game. There you go. That was Pitfall back in the day for use with the Atari video computer system. So that was probably around 1982, 83. Pitfall exclamation point. It's a little bit before my time, although I did play that at my buddy John's house because he had older brothers. We were more of a 8-bit Nintendo family. I will never forget when I got it in 1985 with Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and Gyromite. People have forgotten about that over the years. Today's program obviously will involve alligators because there's an awful lot going on with Alligator Alley. As you know, yesterday while we were live, Trump and DeSantis showed up at Alligator Alcatraz, which is the Florida center now, where we are going to take illegals and figure out what to do with them. And if they are to break out of Alligator Alcatraz, they will likely be eaten by an alligator. Or, as I mentioned, along Alligator Alley and in the Everglades over there, they also have a panther sanctuary that I'm fairly certain they've let panthers out because I've seen the signs that say, watch out for panthers. So between the alligators, the panthers, and the Florida State Penitentiary, you don't want to mess with those people. Like if you're in a Florida State Penitentiary, plus the Florida State Troopers, like you are basically screwed. But it's all good because it just goes to show that in certain places, law and order still matters. And that now has brought two guys that were seriously at odds, and I would say I was right in the middle of it, DeSantis and Trump, just, a year and a half, 2 years ago, seriously loggerheads at odds, all of the mean stuff that was said and all of it. It has all gone away because they both care deeply about the United States of America. So yesterday, this video was happening just as we were live. It's Trump saying that he's heading over to Alligator Alcatraz down in Florida, and he has some advice for the illegals who might get stuck in the area.
Good morning. We're going out to Alligator Alcatraz. It's the East Coast version, and it should be very exciting, very good. Worked very hard on it with Ron and everybody, and I think it's going to be great.
Well, the Alligator Alcatraz is the idea that if some misinterpreted they just get eaten by an alligator or a snake or something.
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If snakes are fast, but alligators are, we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
Even that, like that again, it's just really Trump at his best these days that you don't run in a straight line. Do you know that? If you're being chased by an alligator, this is very important for you guys here to know. If you didn't know this, if you live in Florida, particularly where we have a lot of gators, if you're ever being chased by a gator, don't run in a straight line because they're pretty damn fast going that way. But because they have to drag the tail, if you run in an S motion, here I'll even draw it out for you. If you run like this, there you go, little squiggly, pretty good. You have a better chance. Donald Trump said it's a 1% better chance to escape the alligator. I think it's a little bit higher than that. But this whole Alligator Alcatraz thing is just kind of perfect, right? Because here, like there's the blue sky version of it, which is just that we had to do something about illegals and deportations. Donald Trump's handling that at the border and with ICE and everything else. Then you also needed coordination with the states. And clearly there is no stronger, better state than Florida. And Ron DeSantis is clearly the best governor in the country. And now these guys are coming together. And then I would say the third part of it is that there's just like this branding thing around it. Alligator Alcatraz. It just feels right. Trump loves branding, the imagery of it. They're already selling hats and a whole bunch more. Here's a little bit of what Alligator Alcatraz looks like. And just to be clear, they don't put alligators in the cells with the people. The alligators are out there in the swamp around. The cells look pretty standard, I would say. right, so that looks pretty fine. I'm in the middle of watching Squid Game season 3. Like, it's very Squid Game-ish. You know, that's just fine. They're not going to put them out there to have to stab each other or anything like that. But did you watch season 3, episode 3? Man, was that some of the best television ever? Just incredible. If you're not watching Squid Game, it's just great. It's a show from South Korea. Anyway, doesn't matter. So look, they're putting these people there. It's a temporary center. They're not housing people there or anything else. It's a temporary center. So if you're caught illegally in Florida by the Florida State Troopers or Florida police officers or ICE or whatever it is, they're going to send you there. You're going to be processed. There are lawyers there. And then as DeSantis, we're going to show you a video in just a sec, as he points out, and then we can send you home. That's what we're doing. We're not trying to keep you here forever. We're not trying to just dump you in the Everglades or anything else. But just, again, the idea, it's just like sort of a fun idea that captures the culture, that they're doing this in the middle of the swamp with the gators. Anyway, DeSantis gave Trump a bit of a tour of Alligator Alcatraz, and here's Trump talking to the media about perhaps Gavin Newsom swinging by and maybe learning a thing or two.
Make sure there's nothing that can be used for contraband or weapons before the detainees come in.
See what I mean? It's an amazing job. They've all done a great job. Proud of them.
Mr. President, Mr. Governor, what's your message to Governor Gavin Newsom inside of this facility?
Well, the first thing you should do is come here and learn something, because they don't do this. They don't know. They wouldn't know where to begin, and if they did, it would cost them 100 times more. So I would say he should call the governor and Christie, and I'm sure you'd give him because his state is a disaster, and he doesn't do this.
Yes, it is true that Gavin Newsom's state is a disaster. It is true that he has pushed for California local officials not to work with ICE, and there's going to be a legal battle about that. It's also true that if California was ever to do something like this, which of course they wouldn't do in the first place, that it would cost 10, 20, 30 times more, et cetera, and all those things. And also it is true that Gavin Newsom is an evil lizard man, and lizard people often stick with their reptilian cousins, the gators. So I just don't think he'd have anything to do with any of this. Now, here is DeSantis, who put this thing up basically in a week and did it on the cheap. And I think we showed it yesterday, or at least I tweeted about it. DeSantis has cut 50% of the Florida deficit that has existed since the state of Florida became into existence. DeSantis has cut 50% of it in his 6 years in office, while he's still doing all of these things, building great infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. And here he is talking about how they're going to receive illegals and then what they are going to do with them.
So there very well may be. I know Secretary Noem and her team have said as soon as the president departs, we'll be open to start receiving folks. And so we'll see what the tempo is. We do have the 2,000 in Northeast Florida that will open very soon. We're offering up our National Guard and other folks in Florida to be deputized to be immigration judges. We're working with the Department of Justice for the approvals. I'm sure Pam will approve. But then I'll have a National Guard judge advocate here. Someone has a notice to appear. Biden would tell them to come back in 3 years and appear. Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two, so they're not going to be detained, hopefully, for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now, that Supreme Court ruling was good because that's going to allow him to be able to exercise Article 2 the way founders intended, but you still have bureaucracy. So we want to cut through that so that we have an efficient operation between Florida and DHS to get the removal of these illegals done.
Man, I have to say, I'm proud to live in the state of Florida, but watching those two operate now, especially after all of the fighting and everything else that happened during the primary, and we'll show you some of the funny stuff from the primary or some of the fighting from the primary in a moment, because politics makes strange bedfellows, and Trump is really great at bringing in people that he used to be at loggerheads with. But when you see the two of them standing there, it's like, here comes the president who has now won the culture and is setting the agenda, and he comes to the state with clearly the best governor. And there's DeSantis talking about the Constitution, talking about the legal rights of these guys, talking about how Biden would literally, what they were doing, not only were people just coming through illegally and not even being screened or anything else, but then the people that were screened were just said, okay, come back 4 years, 6 years, let us know, and here's a phone and have fun. Oh, and you want a ticket to Chicago, get going. DeSantis is like, we're going to have people on staff right here dealing with it immediately. So when you see that high level of competency, but you got the leader, right, who gets who gets all the stuff at the meta level, right? Trump is always directionally right about things. And now you have the competent people, not only in the administration, but guys like DeSantis that are doing the work on the ground. It's like, this is how we fix the country. But we don't just fix it by having Florida be functioning. This thing's got to scale across the nation. Here's DeSantis on that.
Say is, don't let Florida be the only state. We've got very red states that should be doing this just as much as Florida's doing. That will increase their numbers. And then what happens is you'll have a lot of people that will deport on their own because they don't want to end up in an Alligator Alcatraz or some of those other places. So I think this is a model, but we need other states to step up.
I was going to ask you, would this be enticing for other states to come up with their own model?
They are doing it. We have Louisiana doing it big. Alabama's doing it. We have a lot of states. They seem to be red states and not too many blue states for whatever reason. You know, but the red states, Republican-run states, are doing it. The blue states don't do very well at security and policing, unfortunately. What would you say, Chris?
You know, I would say that exactly right. The governor here has been fantastic in forming this partnership with the Department of Homeland Security. We were looking at different contracts with different vendors and thought, why not go straight to our governors and ask them to help us solve this problem? Florida was unique in what they presented to us, and I would ask every other governor to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, again, competent people, but this is how the government is supposed to be run, right? It's happening at the state level. And there you have DeSantis saying, let's get this going in other red states. Obviously, the blue states aren't going to do it. So it's nice to hear about Louisiana and Alabama. But I got one for you. Greg Abbott over in Texas. Where are you? Get going. Let's encourage you. I interviewed my good buddy Glenn Beck yesterday, and we're going to put that up on Saturday. And one of the things he was talking about is that although Abbott's not terrible, he's not great, and he should be taking a cue from DeSantis. So Abbott, you should be watching this going, man, what a win for you. And okay, you don't have as many gators. I guess you got some gators maybe in the Houstonish swamp over there. But what do we got? You got some other things. You got the chupacabra. You got the rattlesnake, thank you, and other such things in Texas. Put a whole bunch of snakes out there and see what happens. But again, it's the states that are now coordinating with the federal government, not the federal government forcing anyone to do anything. Now, as I mentioned, another piece of this that is nice is that we are watching old rivalries be resolved. You know, when I was watching originally in the run-through, when I was watching Trump and DeSantis standing there, it's like I remember watching WWE. It was WWF at the time, it's WWE now. But like 87, like Hulk Hogan was like rivals with Macho Man Randy Savage, and then they teamed up in the tag team match to go after $1 Million Man and Andre the Giant. And that's kind of what you have here now with Trump and DeSantis. And here's Trump's talking about how DeSantis is his friend, and they'll always be friends.
So well with the federal government. It's been just a beautiful, beautiful partnership. So, Ron, I'd like to thank you personally. You are my friend, and you'll always be my friend. And we may have some skirmishes even in the future. I doubt it, but I will always come back because we just we have blood that seems to match pretty well. We have a relationship that's been a very strong one for a long period of time, and I appreciate it, very much appreciate it.
All right, so it's great, guys, and it goes to show, again, as heated as all the political stuff gets, and as much as I was in the midst of all of that and campaigning with DeSantis and everything else, like, you put that stuff aside, which is why Trump's able to take a guy like Little Marco from last time around and make him an unbelievable all-star Secretary of State, Lion Ted Cruz, et cetera, his biggest backers, going after Rand Paul just weeks ago, now bringing him back into the fold. It's all there. Connor just told me that apparently in Texas, they have a lot of cougars. So you could have cougars guarding the thing. But why? So you'd basically just have like 50 and 60-year-old single women guarding the thing? Is that what you're telling me? You got it. And you're also telling me, I'm being told by Joseph on the fly right now, that in Alaska, they are looking to put together Bearcatraz. That works. I like this idea. Every state picks their state animal, and that's what we're doing with illegals. But as silly as it all is in some sense, it's also like, it's exactly what Noam said there. Self-deport then, like, see what's going on there. Trump's been giving you months and months to do it. You have an app to do it. Just go self-deport, and then you won't have to lay on the bed and then be involved in the Squid Games. It really is as simple as that. Here's Trump talking about how they're funding this stuff. And believe it or not, they're using some of the FEMA money that Biden was actually putting illegals up in those hotels, and like the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City, they're taking that cash and putting it towards this.
We took the FEMA money that Joe Biden allocated to pay for the free luxury hotel rooms, where he's paying hundreds of millions of dollars in New York City, and we used it to build this project. And Ron, it was just a little fraction of that money. The money they spent on that project, I happen to know the real estate developer. He's a he never really made that much, but he became very wealthy. With luxury, he didn't do well. With people that are not exactly luxury, he's made a fortune. Last year, 15% of all the hotel rooms in New York City were used to house illegal aliens at costs that they never got for luxury. They never got this much for luxury people coming in from the wealthiest places on earth. They made more money with the illegal immigrants, with many rooms costing more than $300 a night, 6 times the rent of a typical American family. In Denver, Colorado, the city was forced to cut $10 million from its police and fire department budget as part of a $90 million plan to house illegal aliens.
All right, so you get how absurd everything was under the Biden administration. Not only did we let these people in and give them phones and give them appointments to come back and just check in a couple years because we're so backlogged. Like, it was designed to be this way, guys. But then they also used your dollars to put people in places like the Roosevelt Hotel and some of these other luxury hotels and condominiums that, as Trump points out, the guys that were building these things in the first place so that rich people would come to New York City and stay there and shop and do all those things, they were making more money once the government got involved. But that's not the way it is supposed to be. It's also supposed to not be the way that Joy Reid talks about anything. And she's been fired from MSNBC, which then puts her as like a quasi-contributor over on CNN. You know how that works, just like the endless rotation. The trash is just moved from one place to another. Like, you might want to take the trash out, not just shift it to another cable news network, but so be it. Anyway, this isn't even on CNN, but she's doing her podcast or whatever she does. And here she is explaining that DeSantis wants to round up brown
to forget about him, but Ron DeSantis is still governor of Florida. He took the Comfy Couch hosts on a tour of the concentration camp that he's building in Florida in order to round up brown people, and throw them in a camp because he doesn't want them in Florida. Surprise, surprise, the economy of Florida is going to be severely harmed by rounding up brown people who, by the way, all over this country, Latinos are afraid to go to work. Anybody who is perceived or looks Latino is afraid to go to work. I know people, but this aggressive move to deport any brown or black person that this regime can get their hands on in order to meet Stephen Miller's 3,000 brown person a day quota. They have a literal quota that ICE is required to meet, which is the reason why they are stopping and frisking brown, particularly brown people, but brown and black people anywhere they can get them. Dodger Stadium, the parking lot at Disneyland, at restaurants, Home Depots, warehouses, anywhere they can get them.
All right, did you get a screenshot of her there for a second? Because I love the fact that she's been reduced to that. Just to her little TV in the background, it looked like some garbage was on the floor. Like, lady, you're virtually nothing, and it's kind of like The View. We're running on fumes with you. We're not going to do much more with you. Everything she said there was a complete fabrication and a lie. The idea that Latino people in Florida are afraid is in itself racist, because you are implying that Latino people are all here illegally. I have dozens of Latino friends. I have a list of all my Latino friends right over here. It's called amigos. Amigos, how do you say brown in Spanish? Amigos, I know azul is blue. We got verde is green. How do you say brown in Spanish? Anyone. We're Marron. Marron? Amigos marron. I keep a paper over here with all of my brown friends, and I got a lot of them, okay? I don't know what was that? I'm not Italian, okay? It's a lot. The point is, guys, that I know plenty of Latinos that are here, and they're here legally, and no one's just rounding up no one's rounding up legal people, right? And also that Stephen Miller has a list to get the brown and black people. It's just a lie. It's illegals. I know you just can't do it right. Did you get the screenshot on that? Did you get the screenshot on the Joy Reid? So this is what she's been reduced to. She's got she must have spent a lot of money on that graphic right behind her, and she's got the tablecloth there and a couple, looks like a little garbage or some just stuff behind her with her. I don't like carpet, by the way. That's something I've never said on the show. I'm not interested in carpet. An area rug is fine. Don't like carpet. Anyway, let's just jump for a second. I wanted to show you this earlier, but everyone's freaking, it's Alligator Alcatraz, and we saw it looks like a prison, and there's barbed wire, and they have beds and Squid Game. You know what this is? Those are Barack Obama's illegal, what do you want to call them? Jails, cells, whatever. Those look pretty great. But UMFers didn't say a word about that back then. Here are a couple videos from the televised mental institution known as MSNBC, where they are wondering if Alligator Alcatraz is actually a trap for Democrats.
This is from Playbook. They call it setting the trap. They're calling it a classic dividing line political issue where a party pushes its position on a core issue, immigration, further and further toward one extreme in order to force its opponent to take a stance. Democrats have been avoiding talking about immigration all summer, but get ready for sky-high levels of outrage if this Alligator Alcatraz facility is as unpleasant as it is feared. Is this the Republican Party laying a trap for Democrats so that they can paint them as the open border party?
We deal with extremely violent populations just fine.
I just think that I don't think you can say, I don't think you can avoid what Alligator Alcatraz is. I mean, I don't think you can just turn a blind eye to it. I think it's anti-American. I think the fact that you're going to have individuals and populations in there that are stacked on top of each other, many of whom without due process. Donald Trump this morning said you should learn how to swim sideways. I mean, there are certain things about this country and the virtues of it. And the reason that Donald Trump and others are able to build Alligator Alcatraz is because of the simple fact that you don't give people the benefit of their humanity.
It's just so meaningless. So we'll do the CNN part there with Bakari Sellers. Dude, it's just meaningless drivel. You don't give people the benefit of their humanity. They came here illegally. They are not citizens of the United States. So what else would be the way to do it? They did a humane thing. They built tents. I'm going to guess there's air conditioning in there. We'll double check on it, but I'm going to guess there's air conditioning in there. They gave them beds and pillows. It's not the most comfortable thing. You're right. They're not getting those luxury, fluffy pillows that they were getting at the Roosevelt Hotel. So we do apologize for that, Bakari. You could throw in a little money, though, if you wanted. I know you're a Democrat, so you only want to do things with other people's money, but you could consider doing that. And then talking about no due process and everything else. DeSantis just said there's freaking lawyers right there. Was it more fair? There is air conditioning. It's confirmed right now. There is air conditioning in there. Do they have mosquito zappers? Because the mosquitoes can be quite relentless this time in the summer. We're going to check on that too. Here, we're going to send the mosquito racket that you brought into the studio yesterday. We're going to Rubin Report's going to donate. I'll donate 100 mosquito rackets. Call the DeSantis people. Tell them Rubin's donating 100 mosquito rackets to Alligator Alcatraz. But it's all just drivel. Again, they're always focused on the illegals, and they are never focused on what the illegal people are doing in this country, whether it's selling meth and fentanyl, whether it's creating chaos on the streets or anything else. So sorry, your game is up. And then as to the MSNBC portion of it, the implication of what she's saying there is somehow that creating processing centers to get illegals out is an extreme position. So their argument is the Republicans are taking such an extreme position that the trap is that the Democrats will now go completely over the top on illegals. Well, first off, they have gone over the top on illegals. Democrats only care about illegals. They want to import voters. They don't care about criminals. They don't care about the mother in Maryland, the 37-year-old mother of 5 who was murdered by an illegal, right? Nobody talks about her, but they do care about the MS-13 gang member who gets kicked out to El Salvador, right? We know this for a fact. So it's not a trap that they're going to go crazier. They're fucking bananas. That's it. But and also it's not extreme to create a place to process these people. You know what would be extreme? Extreme would be just picking them up and dropping them in the Everglades and having them eaten by alligators. I think you could probably make an argument for that. But that would be the extreme thing. It's not extreme to put them in a room that is air conditioned with a lawyer, with a plane ready to send them back to the place from whence they came. I have more from Donald Trump on truth. Because of the violence and criminality I've seen due to the open border policy of sleepy Joe Biden, in particular allowing millions of people into our country who shouldn't be here, I wanted something representative to show how we fight back, and then it happened. I saw a picture of Alcatraz, so foreboding, and I said, we're going to look into renovating and rebuilding the famous Alcatraz prison, sitting high on the bay, surrounded by sharks. What a symbol it is and will be. Conceptual work started 6 months ago, and various prison development firms are looking at doing this with us. Still a little early, but lots of promise. Right, so Alcatraz hasn't, when did they close Alcatraz? Can we get a date on that? But Alcatraz, if any of you have seen The Rock, you know, what's his name? Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery, they were up to doing something over there. Ed Harris with the weapon, and he was trying, his friends were whatever. You get it. It closed in 1963. Well, maybe we do reopen that thing, and it becomes, again, it's in California, so it would be a little trickier, but like it becomes a processing place surrounded by sharks, where then we will keep people until they have to go. That is not extreme. What is extreme is that a psychotic jihadist communist might be mayor of New York City. We'll have more on that in a second, but first, CB Distillery. Summer's here, time to relax and recharge, guys. But if stress, sleepless nights, or sore muscles are holding you back, CB Distillery has your back. Their July 4th sale's on now. Save up to 50% site-wide with code RUMBLE. CB Distillery offers trusted plant-based solutions to help you sleep better, relax, improve focus, and soothe post-workout soreness. All made with high-quality U.S.-grown hemp, no fillers, no artificial ingredients. That's why over 2 million people rely on CB Distillery to feel their best. Never tried CBD? There's no better time to start. Stock up now and save up to 50% off with code RUMBLE. Visit cbdistillery.com. Use promo code RUMBLE at checkout. That's cbdistillery.com, code RUMBLE. Okay, so let's jump over to the potential impending disaster in New York City. It's either going to be a slow motion disaster or a very quick disaster because the election is in September. Obviously, this is to the backdrop of the Democratic mayoral primary where this Zohran Mamdani won. Now, one of his points, one of the many radical positions that this guy holds is that he will not, if he becomes mayor, he will not allow ICE to do its job in New York City. It is the federal government's responsibility, i.e. ICE, to get illegals out. We would like, and Donald Trump has repeatedly been offering for months, he'd like governors and mayors to work with him so that illegals cannot hide in these cities. But if they will not, he's sending ICE in. Zohran is now saying if he becomes mayor, he will block ICE from New York City. And Trump is saying, well, then we might just have to arrest you.
President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zohran Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani?
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers.
Okay, so I'm not a lawyer, but I'll play one on TV. No, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the legality off the top of my head, but we can look into it, about whether if a mayor directly goes against the federal government as it pertains to this, whether he can actually be jailed. I don't know. So there's a constitutional fight involving the state government and federal government there. So punting that aside, again, I think this is one where Trump is doing the directionally right thing that gets 80% of the people behind him. Now, Zohran would love Zohan. That Zohan from the movie was way better, the Adam Sandler movie, and it wasn't even a great movie. He would love this fight, right? There's nothing that Zohran Mamdani would love more than to become mayor of New York City, to stop ICE from arresting the jihadis on the street who are his base and who he marches with, and then to have the optics, because the Democrats love the optics. What do they love? They love a police officer or an ICE agent or somebody doing their job and then him being hauled off and arrested. So I don't know what the actual legal ramifications of all that, and hopefully it's punted altogether because hopefully if calmer heads prevail, this guy doesn't become mayor. But here is Zohran Mamdani on his reaction to President Trump's comments. He wrote, "The President of the United States just threatened to have me arrested, stripped of my citizenship, put in a detention camp, and deported. Not because I have broken any law, but because I refuse to let ICE terrorize our city. His statements don't just represent an attack on our democracy, but an attempt to send a message to every New Yorker who refuses to hide in the shadows. If you speak up, they will come for you. We will not accept this intimidation." That Trump included praise for Eric Adams in his authoritarian threats is unsurprising, but highlights the urgency of bringing an end to this mayor's time in City Hall. At the very moment when MAGA Republicans are attempting to destroy the social safety net, kick millions of New Yorkers off health care, and enrich their billionaire donors at the expense of working families, it is a scandal that Eric Adams echoes the president's division, distraction, and hate. Voters will resoundingly reject it in November. So you can see he's desperately trying to tie Eric Adams to Trump. We showed you that video yesterday where Eric Adams basically said, yeah, I'd love anybody to vote for me, a Trump supporter or anybody else. But Eric Adams has an issue on his hand because the base in New York, particularly the Democrat base, is so brain broken that if he says he kind of liked Trump, that might hurt him, even though clearly, as it pertains to what's going on with the illegals, it's the right thing to do, meaning be in the Trump camp on this stuff. As he says to everything else, the New Yorkers that are going to have to hide in the shadows, it's only the illegal New Yorkers that would have to hide in the shadows. Why do you care about them? Oh, is it because you want illegals there? Because eventually they'll get on the government dole and they'll be shopping at your government-run stores, grocery stores, and then eventually you'll get them voting and they will owe it all to you, and then you will keep them in perpetual slavery, which is what communism is. Now, fortunately, more and more people are waking up to the radical nature of this communist jihadist Mamdani fella. Here's Stephen A. Smith, who mostly a Democrat his entire life. You know, he keeps kind of joking that maybe he's going to run for president. He's a sports guy, really. But here he is laying it out that if the Democrats want a future, it can't involve Zohran.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very, very clear. If the Democratic Party becomes the likes of Zohran Mamdani, who, by the way, I like, not trying to throw any shade on him or anything like that, but if the Democratic Party becomes him, you have no chance. You have no chance on a national basis in terms of the presidency. In Senate seats in the House, you have no chance. You have no chance. I want to be very, very clear about that. You might have a Democratic Socialist sprinkled here and there, but that ain't what America is. America's about capitalism. America's about dollars and cents. America's about an economy, a flourishing economy. Okay? And you know what it's not about? Free stuff. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it.
Stephen A., I appreciate the passion. I really do, and it is good to say what you got to say, and I love you, brother. I do. But you don't have to say, and I like the guy. What do you mean you like the guy? First off, I'm guessing you've never met him, probably. But what do you mean you like the guy? You like the guy, what? Because he smiles a lot? Because he has soft filter on his videos? Everything that you just laid out there, all of his ideas are completely counter to America. And America is the thing I know you love. So I don't know what so the qualification on that. You know, you see sometimes, even Trump will do this with Gavin. Well, I like Gavin, but he's the evil devil incarnate. No, enough of that. If someone's ideas and the things that they want to do to this country are evil, you don't have to tell me you like them because you met them once. Like, no, enough of that. But the broader point, of course, Stephen A. is completely right on, which is that America is based on capitalism. America is based on freedom, individual rights, free exchange, right? You can choose who you want to do business with. Competition, which then allows you to partake in the dream. And you know what you can do? Because our founders put it in our freaking founding documents, and it had never been in any other founding documents before that. They said you should pursue happiness. The pursuit of happiness. Think about how the foresight to put that in there. We can't guarantee you happiness. What the communists are trying to do, what Zohran's trying to do with his fake little graphics and the woman feeding the flowers on her government-run housing project with the government grocery store. Oh, you'll be happy and you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. No. In a free America, you can pursue happiness. Doesn't mean you're going to get there. And it might take a little hard work and it might take a little bit of luck. And you may not accomplish it, but the pursuit is worth something. But this is the crazed situation that the Democrats have on their hands. They have a bunch of washed up corporate nothings, meaning whatever is left of the mainstream Democrat, and then they have radical lunatics they don't know how to stop. So here's Timu Obama, who again is like the congressional, it's Hakeem Jeffries. He's just a malfunctioning. I'm telling you, years from now, they're gonna be like, he was the first robot. He was the first robot. We put him out there as a test, and it was far worse than we could have imagined. This man has the emotional variance of a wet paper bag. But here's Hakeem Jeffries, and he just doesn't know what to do with Mamdani, because Mamdani wants to globalize the Intifada, and Jeffries realizes, well, that may not be the best slogan nationally.
You mentioned the diversity of your district, including a lot of Jewish constituents. Mamdani has made comments that some have said veer towards anti-Semitism. His initial statement after October 7th, he criticized the Israeli government, but didn't criticize Hamas. He defended the use of the word globalize, or the phrase globalize Intifada. And he even said that the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu should be arrested, or he would, if he were mayor, he would arrest Netanyahu if he visited New York City. Do these things concern you?
Globalizing the Intifada, by way of example, is not an acceptable phrase, and he's going to have to clarify his position on that as he moves forward. With respect to the Jewish communities that I represent, I think our nominee is going to have to convince folks that he is prepared to aggressively address the rise in anti-Semitism in the city of New York, which has been an unacceptable development. And any mayor, whether you're a Democratic mayor, a Republican mayor, an independent mayor, has got to commit to the safety and well-being of all of the people of the city of New York. And when there are moments of crisis and a rise in anti-Jewish hate, that's a threshold, of course, needs to be crossed.
Couldn't you see just like an aide walking up to him and clicking his ear, and then his faceplate opens, and then you just see lights and all that? There's just nothing behind those eyes. Anyway, good luck, man. First off, if you're a Jew and you vote for Mamdani, you're voting to go to the gas chambers. So, okay, fine. But if you're a Jew and you vote for this guy, but it's not even about being Jewish, and it's so annoying having to talk about it that way. If you care about America and freedom, yes, it starts with the Jews. The Jews are the canary in the coal mine, all of that stuff. But this man who will not condemn the phrase globalize the Intifada. What is the Intifada? The Intifada is decades of suicide bombings. It is decades of mass stabbings. It's decades of rockets being shot, car rammings, all of these things that Zohran is completely for. He is for these things. He will not condemn them. And by the way, this is the same duplicitous schmuck who just was at the Pride Parade waving a trans flag. Well, I would like somebody to ask, who's that guy that just interviewed him? What's that guy's name? Doesn't even matter. Just like one of these, again, none of these people matter, all these journalists. But if you're a journalist out there, ask Zohran, does your mosque do gay weddings? And if the answer is no, which it is, because not one mosque in the United States does it, why do you attend a place of worship that is so bigoted against your queer brothers and sisters? Like, so much of this stuff, if we just had actual journalists asking real questions, could just melt away so quickly. Anyway, here's a random guy on the street who's calling Mamdani a retard, so I like that.
Do you think that this person is a patriot or a traitor?
That dude's a
Why do you say that?
I mean, just look at him. He's a communist. This guy wants government-owned grocery stores. If you support government-owned grocery stores, then you're a retard. Tell me an instance where the federal government has ran a business or done something better than an American citizen. This guy isn't even an American citizen. He was born in Uganda. He came here 8 years ago and he wants to be the mayor, and he wants government-owned grocery stores. If you walk into a CVS, you have to ring a bell to unlock the toothbrushes. If this guy becomes mayor, you're gonna have to ring a bell to unlock the Tic Tacs, to unlock the Coca-Cola. Everything's gonna get stolen. Everyone's gonna go out of business. The country's already ruined, but it's gonna be even more ruined if this slimy little rat wins. I say vote Eric Adams, deport this guy back to wherever the he came from, and he's a fucking
I like that guy. Let's find that. I'm putting that guy on the list. I want to buy people dinner. If someone find that guy, I'll buy him dinner. What's the deal with the rag on the head with the hat on top? Is that a heat issue? Let's see, you put like some cold water on there. It's probably a heat issue. And then you just walk around with that. But obviously, it's keeping the brain nice and moist because that guy gets it. Yes, Mamdani wants to socialize and communize everything. And once that happens, Competition will disappear. Services will be worse. All of the people that produce and have money will get the high hell out of there, whether it's the people who are working on Wall Street, because by the way, they're also going to, like at the Batman with Bane, they're going to rampage through there and do all that kind of stuff. But then they will not have people who will build things properly and all of the rest of it. Can I do my Bane impression? Yeah. I was born in it. Let's talk about the wellness company Parasite Cleanse, and then we'll talk about the big, beautiful bill that just passed the Senate. Could your health issues be caused by an invisible enemy? Fatigue, bloating, brain fog? What if parasites are the real culprit? I was doing digging into parasite cleanses when I came across this video from a trusted doctor.
What are the main differences between ivermectin and fenbendazole? These are two anti-pathogens used to treat parasitic infections and other similar types of conditions. They are used quite often in the oncology world to treat cancer. They both have as anti-pathogenic abilities.
Interesting, right? Did you know that 60 million Americans apparently have parasites? That's scary. They're everywhere in our food, water, and pets. But the wellness company has a solution for you. Ivermectin plus mebendazole. They are FDA-approved parasite solutions now combined in one cleanse combo. Just fill out a brief medical intake form to get your 3-month supply. Maha is officially here, and the wellness company is making these hard-to-get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. Head on over to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $90 off plus free shipping. Don't wait, cleanse your body, and take back control today. All right, so let's talk about the big, beautiful bill. Obviously, it was a bit contentious on the way in between Elon and Trump fighting about it, but it did pass the Senate yesterday. We've got some info here from Fox News. Senate Republicans rallied to send President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill back to the House, notching a major victory in their record-shattering march towards getting the legislation signed into law. Nearly every Republican in the upper chamber coalesced to advance Trump's $3.3 trillion mega bill, save for Tom Tillis, Rand Paul, Susan Collins. No Senate Democrat crossed the aisle to support the bill. Vice President J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote was needed to push the bill across the finish line, unlike on Saturday when the Ohio Republican descended on Capitol Hill in anticipation of a tight vote to proceed with the debate on the bill. The bill now heads to the House, where fiscal hawks in the House Freedom Caucus are frustrated with what they say are shallow spending cuts, and moderates are concerned over cuts to Medicaid. All have warned that they may not support the bill. Many House Republicans, including Speaker Mike Johnson, called on the Senate to change as little as possible. A product that could pass the House was front of mind for some Senate Republicans as the day dragged on. Okay, so basically 3 Republicans didn't go for the big, beautiful bill. The Republicans have 53 seats. That got it to the 50-50 tie. Here's J.D. Vance breaking the tie.
Let's vote. The yeas are 50. The nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
Okay, so to be clear, it has now passed the Senate and will go to the House. And as Fox News was talking about, now you have to deal with some of the more, let's say, libertarian-leaning people in Congress, like Thomas Massie, like Chip Roy, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not guaranteed, and you have a bunch of Democrats that obviously aren't going to vote for it. So it's not guaranteed to pass the House. We will see. And now I want to issue it's a bit of a correction or a clarification of something from yesterday that got almost everyone online completely confused. We showed you that video of the House floor yesterday talking about how Medicaid was not going to be stripped from illegals in the bill. But here is Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri cleaning up a bit around that video. There was a lot of confusion related to all this. So let me read this to you. Yesterday, there was a lot of rumors floating around the ban on Medicaid for illegal aliens being stripped from the bill. Thankfully, that's not true. It's very much in the bill we just passed. You can look it up below, page 602, section 77109. Here's where the rumor came from. During yesterday's vote-o-rama, an amendment banning Medicaid for illegal immigrants was voted down. The clip of that vote started circulating online, and folks took that to mean that the provision had been stripped from the bill altogether. But that was just one of many messaging amendments designed to force Democrats to vote against specific provisions. In this case, a ban on some Medicaid funding for illegal aliens who commit heinous crimes on the record. It was meant to show the public how radical they are. The bill we passed actually goes much further beyond banning Medicaid for 1.4 million illegal aliens. It requires states to verify citizenship status before providing coverage, bans automatic Medicaid enrollment for children of illegal aliens, excludes DACA from Medicaid. So it's important that that gets cleared up because that one got by us too. It got by everybody. Like I saw a lot of people who I trust tweeting that out. And that's why if you watch yesterday's show, I was completely shocked by it. But that's a great clarification by Eric Schmidt, and glad to see that, yes, sorry, if you are here illegally, you will no longer get government funds. Now, another thing that the bill did is it is going to fund, and this was some of the fight that Elon and Trump were having was about, or basically the fight was about spending. Everyone on the Republican side was all about the cuts. We're going to cut taxes. We're going to cut some of the entitlements for illegals, et cetera, et cetera. But the issue was the spending thing. Well, one thing that we are spending on that I think most people agree on is the border and deportations. Here's Tom Homan on how now that the BBB has passed, we can get moving on some deportations.
When the big, beautiful bill does pass, how do you expect that to impact the number of deportations per day? Will it be twofold, threefold?
Vastly increased. Depends how quick we get more resources on, how quick we get the contractors on, how quick we bring the beds on. I mean, Governor DeSantis, I give him credit. We got the facility he's putting up in Florida. We'll be filling those beds as quick as we can because we need more beds. I mean, I looked at this morning. I think we got like 1,700 empty beds. We'll fill them in 2 days. So we need more beds. That bill is going to let us sign contracts that are pending for more beds. We don't have the funding to do it.
Okay, so again, regardless of what side you fall on all of this, whether you're really on board the Elon side that there was just too much spending in here, or you're more on the Trump side that it had to be done and it's just the beginning and the Democrats always raise the debt ceiling and all those things, wherever you fall on any of that stuff, the fact is we are funding the wall, we are funding cleaning up the border, we are funding the deportations, we're getting tax cuts, and if there are other spending things that are in there that are a bit too much, hopefully some of that will be dealt with in Congress. We shall see where that falls. Let's talk about Rumble Premium for a minute, and then we will move to other things that are being cut that have the media in meltdown. Free speech is under attack, but Rumble refuses to back down. We've always believed in empowering voices, no matter how unpopular, and now we're taking that fight to the next level. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their backs. But we're not here to fit a mold, we're here to defend free expression. To strengthen this mission, we're excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from creators like Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, and the Mug Club with Crowder. It's more than a subscription, it's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off the annual plan using promo code Rubin. Visit rumble.com/premium/Rubin and claim your discount today. Whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching, your support helps keep free speech alive. All right, let's jump over to the trash factory. I always call it the televised mental institution known as MSNBC. Then we moved it to MSNBC 13. CNN, it's just the trash factory. That's all it is. It's just trash that gets recycled on air, with the exception, obviously, of a couple people that, Scott Jennings and a few others. But here on CNN, they're very concerned that Trump defunding USAID, which we now know was like just an abject, giant money laundering scheme, it's gonna kill 14 million people. Quick, go.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is hailing the end of USAID, the nation's largest foreign aid agency, even as a new analysis finds that its closure could contribute to some 14 million deaths in the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah. So, who is buying any of this? We didn't even need to show you the extended version. Who's buying any of this? If USAID doesn't get their unlimited funds that nobody gets a receipt on anymore, 14 million people will die in 5 years. It's just all bullshit. And here's a bullshit farmer. His name's Chuck Schumer. And here he is talking about how because of the new bill that the Republicans are putting through, and we've got some Bernie stuff here too, more people are going to die. Kids are going to die. Dogs, cats are going to be fighting. It's just, oh, hell. It's going to break loose.
This vote will haunt our Republican colleagues for years to come. Because of this bill, tens of millions will lose health insurance. Millions of jobs will disappear. People will get sick and die. Kids will go hungry, and the debt will explode to levels we have never seen. Also know this is just the beginning. If DOGE attacks USAID today, then you can be sure they'll move on to another target tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the Postal Service or the IRS or even the Social Security Administration. They could be next. Or maybe our national security agencies.
So right now, the Republican Party people are just afraid to dissent, and all you have to do is say, I love President Trump, I will do anything and everything he says. Hey, that's what being a candidate in the Republican Party is today. Pretty pathetic.
Bernie, you know what might be pathetic? A guy like you, a lifelong socialist who's been in the Senate for 40 years, has never gotten a major piece of legislation passed with your name on it. I think you moved a post office in Vermont once. That's basically the only thing you've done other than you've ushered in horrible ideas and made a complete caricature of what an old socialist is. You might be embarrassed by the fact that your party, the Democrats, sandbagged you to go with Hillary and you just became their bitch. That might be a little embarrassing, but okay, I get it. You don't really understand that. As for Chuck Schumer, oh gosh, that would be a shame. Imagine if DOGE cuts came to the IRS. That would, what, oh my God, don't tempt me with a good time. The IRS wouldn't have enough money to figure out how they could steal more of our money? Oh no, Chuck. And then of course, just the same old bullshit. Kids are gonna die, whatever. Chuck, we saw you making those cheeseburgers on your grill. You seem like a great chef. Why don't you throw a couple kids some cheeseburgers, keep them well fed? Chuck was able to do one thing. This is rather amazing. The main thing that Chuck was concerned about, apparently, besides the death of the children, which obviously is completely made up fear-mongering, is that the bill was called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. And he didn't like that, so he protested it, and watch what happened.
Mr. President.
The Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I raise a point of order against page 1, lines 3 to 5 of the pending amendment, which violates Section 313B1A of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974.
The point of order is sustained. The text will be stricken.
Well, that's very impressive, Chuck. You went to page 1 of the thing and you didn't like the name of the thing, the Big Beautiful Bill, so you lodged a complaint, and that man, who obviously off the top of his head knew that Section 213B1A of the Congressional Budget Act of 1974, we checked, it's a reconciliatory bill's name. Sorry, let me get this right. A reconciliatory bill's name can generally be changed if it doesn't match its purpose. So I guess technically the Big Beautiful Bill doesn't exactly match the purpose. It was a branding thing that Trump did. So congratulations. It's the perfect thing for Democrats, right? What did Democrats do? They go, what's his name, doesn't pee for 25 hours. They applaud him. Oh, congratulations. The bill that just passed, you changed the name of it. Nothing they do does anything but makes everything worse. Speaking of people who make everything worse, here's Democrat Jamie Raskin, and he doesn't even know what's coming across his desk these days. How the hell is he supposed to know? He's in the government, for God's sakes.
No taxes on tips, which is part of this bill, for working people who work on a tipped wage. Do you support that?
You know, I haven't looked seriously at it because I haven't thought they were serious about it.
Well, what are you doing all day, Raskin? I mean, one of the things they've been talking about is cutting taxes for tips, so that if you go to a restaurant and these people are working real hard, and as we know, they don't get paid a ton, you might get paid, say, a minimum wage or, $12, $13 an hour, whatever it is. But then if you do a really good job, you're going to get tipped a lot. I love tipping a lot. I really do. Like if you go to a restaurant and you get a great waiter or waitress who's fun and alive and aware and does a great job, I love rewarding them for that. And again, that's because of capitalism. So why shouldn't they get to keep more of the money that you just hand them? But he hasn't thought about it. He didn't think it was serious because actually you people don't care about working class people. You pretend to be for working class people as long as the working class people have to stay on the dole of the government. But someone who's working real hard as a waitress that starts getting more tips and is doing a good job, and then you know what, might become an assistant manager of a restaurant, maybe he's going to own a restaurant one day. That's not really your thing because you're not into pursuit of happiness. You're into indentured servitude. Now, there's another interesting thing here. happening around the fact that JD had to be the tie-breaking vote in this thing because these 3 Republicans on the Senate didn't come along. You can start to see what the Democrats are going to do to try, because Trump obviously is not going to run for president again, and it likely will be JD. They're going to really want to pin this thing on JD if it does not go well. Check this out from Eric Daughtry. Thought this was interesting. He wrote, just in, likely 2028 Democrat presidential candidates AOC and Gavin Newsom, my God, mercy on all our souls, launch an all-out assault on J.D. Vance, the first talking points of their campaigns, J.D. Vance and cut Medicaid. And you can see these 2 tweets here. AOC, J.D. Vance was the deciding vote to cut Medicaid across the country, an absolute and utter betrayal of working families. And Gavin Newsom, bookmark this, J.D. Vance is the ultimate reason why 17 million Americans will lose their health care. All right, first off, they're both lying. People are not losing their health care. We're getting fraud out of the system, and if you are illegal, you are being kicked off. That's it. No legal person who is working is losing Medicaid. Fact, full stop, end of sentence, period, bookmark it, whatever you want to do. They're just lying. But more interesting is Eric's point, which is clearly those 2 are going to be at the high end of the clown car list of people the Democrats are putting it up. And in some sense, and this is going to be a really interesting thing that we're going to see in the next couple of years, in some sense, as the Trump thing wraps up, all of the energy of TDS is going to have to be aimed elsewhere. And if assuming it's going to be JD that will take the mantle here, it's going to be put on him. So the Democrats desperately want this thing to fail so that they can pin it on JD. Like that's just politics. Here's Scott Jennings, one of two. Sure, Michael Singleton also, he's sane over there. One of 2 sane people who works at CNN. I can't speak to the janitors or the electricians. Those guys are probably all right. But here's Scott Jennings explaining that everything they just said about Medicare and everything else, Medicaid, was a complete lie.
This bill is a political suicide note for the Republican Party. Last time they tried this, the Democrats won 41 House seats after Trump's first midterm. They'll exceed that this time. 489 days. They'll do better than 41 seats. This is absolute death knell for the House Republicans. Maybe Senate, too.
I should have started my remarks by thanking you, because it was President Bill Clinton in the 90s that thought of work requirements for Medicaid.
But 2/3 of people on Medicaid already work.
Which is all we're doing here.
They already do it. They already do it. We did it.
If you want to get up and go to work, you're going to get your Medicaid. And if you're an illegal alien, you're not going to get your Medicaid. Everybody else is going to be fine.
14
it's
million
generational
people.
Welfare reform built on your all's ideas. So I thank you. I sincerely thank you.
It's really great. Paul Begala, who used to work for Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton was the one that was like, if you want to be on Medicare, Medicaid, you got to work. And then Begala's like, yeah, well, 2/3 of people do. Okay, well, that means 1/3 of people don't. So if you're illegal or you are not working, then sorry, you cannot be on Medicaid anymore. But guys, trust me, they want this thing to fail, and they want it. They want the stank, as they say, to be attached to JD. So we will see what happens there. Let's move over to some international stuff, because something is brewing in the Middle East post 12-day war. Just real quick, the thermonuclear war, World War III, it didn't happen yet. It didn't happen. And now some other good news may be coming out of the Middle East. Listen to this from Donald Trump on Truth. My representatives had a long and productive meeting with the Israelis today on Gaza. Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize the 60-day ceasefire, during which time we will work with all parties to end the war. The Qataris and Egyptians, who've been working very hard to help bring peace, will deliver this final proposal. I hope for the good of the Middle East that Hamas takes the deal, because it will not get better. It will only get worse. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Connor, leave it up for just a sec, because I think a lot of people are misreporting on this. A lot of people are saying that the Israelis agreed to the 60-day ceasefire. But if you listen to the exact verbiage there, Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions to finalize the ceasefire. So Israel has agreed to what their conditions are going to be. And now he's basically saying, hey, Hamas, you're not in good negotiating position, on top of the fact that, a lot of your guys are dead and you're losing territory over there and everything else. Your main backer, Iran, is pretty much on the ropes. You've really got nobody, cooking for you anymore. And then he does like a kind of Trumpian thing, which the idea that the Qataris and Egyptians have been helpful is kind of ridiculous, but he's trying to bring them back into the fold. Like, if you can somehow make it seem like Qatar and Egypt can get a win out of this too, So anyway, all of this leads to that potentially, if the hostages are returned and Hamas is put into exile, that there could be peace between Israel and Gaza. Who will run Gaza, we do not know. But then there could be an extension of the Abraham Accords. There's a lot of rumors right now that the new government of Syria is about to sign on to the Abraham Accords. Saudi Arabia has been close for years, and it was only because of October 7th that that got put on ice. And then there really could be something magical coming out of that region of the world. I saw this a couple weeks ago, and we were trying to figure out when we could fit it into the show. But this is the great Douglas Murray sitting down with the equally great Jordan Peterson, talking about the book of Isaiah and how you can't have peace without war. So this goes to the peace through strength notion, and post-war, when the bad guys realize, boy, we've lost, we can't keep doing this, nothing's working, that is then how you start birthing something new. And I thought this was quite brilliant.
I would just add one other thing to that, which is I was talking the other day with a friend, a biblical scholar, and he said, you know that that famous quote on the walls of the UN, the quote from Isaiah, and he shall judge among the nations, and he shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Now that's magnificent sentiment, of course, and who wouldn't want to follow it? But the thing that I just realized is, look at what comes before it. Let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Right? That's called a precondition, Douglas. You don't get the idea of war being no more, or peace breaking out among nations, unless the word goes out from Jerusalem. Yeah. You can have one, but you can't have it without the other. That's right. Yeah.
Isn't that good? That's the book of Isaiah. Right? Like, listen to that there's a precondition to peace. You don't just get peace for peace sake, right? And this, I think, has been the mass confusion that so many of whatever you want to call on the woke right, or what I think the general libertarian confusion is around things, is that, or when Tucker will say something like, you're either a peacemaker or a war maker or a warmonger. It's what the confusion is. What that biblical verse is explaining is there's a precondition to peace. Do we all want peace? All of us in like some sense, do we all want peace? Yes, but that's not exactly how life works. That actually you might need war, because war then sends the signal. When it is a just war, it sends the signal to the good guys and the bad guys that no more of this. So that precondition, you don't get peace just in and of itself, is quite brilliant. And I think we might be at that moment. And as the Bible says, it is an old book, but maybe there's something in there that makes sense. The signal has to come out of Jerusalem. Well, I think the signal just came out pretty strongly. So now to end the show, there are some fights, right? We've got the big, beautiful bill fight that's happening now between Trump and what will happen now with the congressional Republicans. You've got Elon involved in that. But I want to connect it to where we started at the show. Where we started today was that Trump and DeSantis right now, who 2 years ago were mortal enemies, and I had the entire Trump base trying to destroy me because I was a DeSantis guy, and I don't know if you know anyone that's a bigger Trump supporter than me right now, that if we figure out how to heal all of this stuff right now, as always, what Trump is doing is getting the ship to turn towards the right thing, and good things are happening. So let's show you a video of just 2 years ago, Trump talking about DeSantis versus what he thinks about him now.
We are leading to sanctimonious by massive numbers. He's heading south quickly. No personality. You got to have a personality to win. He's got no personality.
Ron, I'd like to thank you personally. You are my friend, and you'll always be my friend. And we may have some skirmishes even in the future. I doubt it, but I will always come back because we just seem to We have blood that seems to match pretty well.
So you get it, guys? Like the DeSanctimonious and whatever. It was a fight. It was a political fight. But then at the end of the day, what did we find out? These guys both love America. And they're going to work together. And they're a freak. I'm telling you, they're a tag team like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. And it's really, really good. So I thought we'd end on this quote from Jordan that sums it up quite nicely. Perhaps you are overvaluing what you don't have and undervaluing what you do. We might have all of the things that we need. We're always focused on the other stuff. We're always focused on the grass is greener over there and all of those things. But maybe, at least if you live in a reddish state, you have the things that you need. And it's not just about the government. It's about family and all those other things and belief and culture and everything else. So while they're always focused on all the things that they need and the power that they want, and if they could just have enough to control you, things would be better. Maybe we got enough. That's what I think. Unfortunately, we cannot do a post-game show today because we are wrapping up a million things before July 4th, so apologies for that. But what can I offer them in exchange for that? I can offer you a kind goodbye. I thank you for watching the show. I think this was a solid program, maybe not the funniest one I've ever done, but there were some moments of levity, and I think it was informational and everything else. So thank you for watching. I got to eat lunch real quick before I got to 12:30, so thank you. All right, ciao.